Hey everybody, welcome to the Tom Rowland Podcast, brought to you by Brite. Brite is the maker of all kinds of awesome cleaning products for your boat, RV, your home, all kinds of things. I personally use it on my boat. Love this salt off. This is an amazing product. You can get that salt off and preserve all of your most expensive stuff in salt water. Today, we have a great conversation with someone who goes by MajorGator95. He's Major Thornton. Major Thornton is a fisherman that has quite a footprint on social media, and he's a real fisherman. He's done the professional redfish tournament, and very good fisherman here with us today. And we're going to have a lot of good conversations about what gets people started in fishing, what keeps them interested in fishing, where we are with social media, where we're going with social media. And this is coming from two different people with two different kind of an age gap here. I'm 56, he's 29. We have different experiences, but some of the same kind of concerns about social media, where we're going and how that affects our fishing and our kids' mental health. So here we go with Major Thornton, MajorGator95. Go give him a follow on Instagram, YouTube. Here we go with this conversation.
My name is Major Gator, and this is the Tom Rowland Podcast.
Awesome. You're a natural. You should have your own podcast.
You know, it's crazy that I don't think I can do a podcast, man.
You
don't
don't?
know if I can do it.
Why?
Because I would say I'm an introvert with social skills. You know what I mean? Like I can be, I can be talkative, but like in my day to day, I'm not a man of many words.
But a lot of times, people come out of their shell in a creative way. Like if you put a camera in front of you, you can do it, right? Like you might be an introvert all other time. And I know a lot of comedians are like this, and a lot of other people, they just stick to themselves. They're real quiet, but then they have this thing, whatever it is. It's your creativity, and something comes out, right? Is that
Right.
what happens with you and social media?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's like my way of kind of expressing myself in a way. You know what I mean? It definitely is like that.
Everyone has to have a creative outlet. How did you learn or get comfortable in front of the camera? If you say that you're an introvert in most of your life and you're real quiet, but then if you watch your social media, that's not the way that you seem at all. So how did you discover that that's a place that you could come out of your shell and show the world a different Major Gator?
Well, for me, because I lived in Gainesville for 10 years, and I moved out of Gainesville and moved to Charlotte. And Charlotte's not like Florida, man, as far as fishing goes. So when I moved up there, like when I first got there, I was depressed, really. Like I would, my granddad passed not too long ago, before I moved up there. So, and then, you get to a new area, you're not finding as many fish when you get there. You got to go through so many trips of not catching anything to find fish. And it was like, if I'm not fishing, or, I'm a different person. I just love fishing so much. And I had to find a way to really bring that joy back to fishing for me. And that's where, it kind of all started. That was my outlet of like still having fun. I still had fun going fishing, of course. Fishing is fishing, you know what I mean? But you still want to catch fish.
Yeah.
So, so that kind of brought the fun back to it for me as I went through that struggle of trying to find areas up there.
I got you. So how did you start fishing? Were you in Tallahassee? You said you were in Gainesville first? Is that where you grew up?
So I'm from South Florida.
South Florida.
So
What
I'm
part?
from around Lake Okeechobee. So
Okay.
I was born in Belglade, and I lived in Clewiston for a little bit as well. But I'm from around the lake.
Okay, right on. And so when you grew up, was that a major part of your fishing, like the lake?
Oh yeah, but honestly, man, like the fishing over there, the best fishing you can do as far as bass fishing is you fish those dirt road, those canals that lead up. There's so many paths that lead up to the lake, and man, I can take you to some spots right now down some dirt roads that I'm talking about on a bad day. I was saying we can catch 20 bass a piece on a bad day. I'm talking about bluebird skies, hot. I'm talking like on a worst day, we'll catch 20 bass a piece.
So what's going on in those kind of places? How is that different than the lake?
It's just not fished as often because, I mean, it's so back. It's way back in those areas. This is one of those areas, man, that just not fished. People don't really travel off the grid like that. And man, I'm talking those bass. Some of those bass back there never seen lures a day in their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed, like, when you're fishing, you have an area that you can fish like that receives almost no pressure, and you'll have like a lure. I'm wondering if you've ever had this experience. You have a lure, like maybe when the chatterbait came out or something, and it's taken off, and everybody's catching fish on it everywhere, and then all of a sudden it just kind of doesn't work as good.
Yep.
And then you go to one of those places where they still haven't seen a chatterbait, maybe like very, very little pressure, and it also doesn't work as good there. Have you noticed that?
I have.
What is that?
I have no idea, man. I try to figure stuff out like that, but I have no idea.
I mean, you would think like when it first comes out, it's hot and everybody's catching fish everywhere, but you know that not many people are fishing in this area.
Right.
And you go there, and the first time they see it, they love it. But then, I don't know, I've heard it called morphic resonance, where it's like there's some sort of communication. Call it, I don't know, it sounds weird, man, but it's happened to you, it's happened to me, and you would think, you could take a 40-year-old lure that they've never seen back there, and you throw it in there, and they would bite it like it was amazing. But that's not what happens. Like, you get one of these hot baits, and then all of a sudden you go to areas that don't get fished, and it doesn't work as well there either.
And the thing is, I mean, you know this too, but man, fish are smart, man. Like, you go there one day, you bust them up on the lure, you go back, a couple of times, and they're like, man, I don't seen this.
Yeah, I know. But like what I'm talking about though is the different side of it, where that they haven't seen it. Like, that maybe it's a private pond. No one's been there. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, this worked so good last time, or what, and maybe it's a year ago, and then it just doesn't produce.
Do you think it has to do with something like, because, I've had experiences where I'll go fish a pond, right? I've had ponds like, oh, this pond sucks in the evening, and this pond is great in the morning. Do you think that has like some similar? Because I've had ponds where I go there in the morning, morning bite, that's supposed to be the best bite. But some ponds I go to, I've had experiences where I don't catch many in the morning, but I go to that same pond in the evening, and it's like it's on fire.
Right. I think that's one of the things that keeps people so engaged in fishing and keeps people so kind of obsessed with it, is because you kind of feel like you've got something wired like this. I'm going to get a good morning bite in all these places. Then you go to this other one, and it's not like that. And you're like, well, what is it about that is different than these other things? And then you think you got that figured out. But just about the time you think you got it figured out, you get humbled like you've never been humbled before. You know what I mean? Like, like that is what, I mean, I don't know what it is necessarily about fishing. I asked this to a lot of people that, like ourselves, that are really into fishing and love it and can't quite put their finger on what it is about fishing that they love so much. But I think that if you really think about fishing, it's mostly failure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, you're casting, say you cast 100 times. You're not going to catch 100 fish. You're not going to catch 50 fish. You're probably going to catch 20 fish, maybe, on a great day.
Yeah.
If you cast 100 times, you caught 20 fish, that would be amazing. Well, that's 80 casts that you caught nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to shoot basketballs like that, or you were to, I don't know, do something else, do the stock market like that, you'd be broke.
Yeah, I was about to say, you do that in basketball, you won't have a career.
No. I mean, you got to do better than that. But in fishing, though, it's just kind of funny, because there's like, I don't know, it's mostly failure. And then you have these moments of success, and then you try to replicate that success with mostly failure. And then once you do replicate that success, man, you're walking around like, I got this thing wired. And
it can make you feel like the smartest man in the world and the dumbest man in the world. I mean, that it's just like, man, that's what I love about it too. And if you imagine explaining that ratio to somebody that doesn't fish, like of you casting how many fish you catch compared to your cast.
Right.
Imagine explaining that to somebody that doesn't fish. Like, they'll be like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happens a lot, when you go to a party or something, and you're hanging around with people that don't fish, and they're like, why? I don't get it. Why do you do this? Because the numbers that I put out there, you cast 100 times, you catch 20 fish. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
That would be amazing.
Right.
But it's more like 600 times for 20 fish.
Especially when you're slinging artificials all day, man. Man.
I don't know. I always like to ask about that. Like, what is it? What is it that you think got you excited about fishing when you were young that kept you in it to today?
It was good. I mean, it's just been instilled in my whole family since I was a kid, and going with my granddad. Those are my best memories. Going out with my granddad, a bunch of my cousins, and man,
What was that like? Tell me about going out with them.
it was just fun. Like it made fishing fun. We had. I mean, my granddad was a hoot, man. He was a grumpy man at times, but when you're a kid, your grandpa's grumpy. It's just the funniest thing in the world. Like he just let us have fun, man. We go out there, my cousin, we would, you know, have competitions, how many fish we caught, and we competed and had fun. And when we weren't catching fish, we would get like these big rocks. Cause my granddad was, he was a good fisherman, so we would get these when we weren't catching fish. We would get these big rocks. And I'm talking about we would throw it over there his direction, boosh, a big splash in the water. I mean, he would get so mad, and it was just memories like that, man. It's just like one time we did that a little too much, and he got his bucket. He got his 5-gallon bucket he was sitting on. Got in the car, and drove off, and like left us. Like I guess tried to teach us a lesson. You know what I mean? He came back and got us, but it just things like that. Those memories are just, man, that I'll never forget. Like it was just fun. Like I feel like when you make a kid have fun fishing, it resonates in your brain. It's like fishing equates to fun, and I think that was the biggest thing for me.
One of the things for me too that I remember was moments of freedom. Like when I was about 14, I got access to this John boat, which there is no parent in the world today that would give their kid this John boat, because I had this old engine on it. I haven't thought about this in so long. I don't even know why I thought about this, but I had this old engine on it that didn't have a cover on it. And it had a flywheel that looked like something out of Saw 3. Like it had blades on the top and everything, and you would have to take this cord and you'd have to put it in there and wrap it around the motor, and then you had a little piece of wood on the end of it, and you'd have to give it a pull. Well, you have to stand up in the John boat to give it a pull, right? And it's like a 10-foot John or something like that with a 2.5 or a 5 horsepower, an old thing. Like this thing, when I go to visit Mercury, they got some old motors like this, but they have a cowling on them. This one didn't have a cowling, and that thing was spinning on top of if I could ever get it started, it was just spinning on top, and if you put your hand in there, it'd probably chop your arm off. But my parents thought it was fine, just let him go out there. But that moment, where I kind of showed my dad that I could start the thing, if it broke, I knew how to paddle it in, and it was a small area that I was allowed to stay in. But man, that freedom was amazing to me. I still remember that. Like I still kind of have that same feeling. Like when I'm able to go fishing by myself or something, and you go like out to the Marquesas or you go someplace crazy, and you're just, it's like a familiar feeling. You're like, that's the same feeling I had in that little John boat.
Yeah.
And what was the first kind of freedom with fishing? Was it with a driver's license and you go back on these back roads, or what was it for you where you kind of had that freedom and fishing was involved?
My mom ain't gonna like this, but my freedom was, I tell my mom, hey, I'm going to the spot, down the road, and I'm on my bicycle, man. I'm talking about I'm on the other side of town, like fishing, fishing towards Saltwater. I'm fishing like totally, in a different area, and she would call me as long as I answered the phone. That was the thing. If I didn't answer the phone, my mama was like, she's the kind of person like, hey, look, I'm paying this phone bill. If I call, you answer this phone. You know what I mean? So if I answered the phone, I was fine, and everything was good. But if I didn't answer, one time I didn't answer. She went down to the spot that I told her I was gonna be. Yeah. I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
So that was my freedom. She let me go fishing, anytime. She's just a worry, you know how moms worry. My dad would have been, if my dad's different, he would have been fine with it. But I lived with my mom. Mm-hmm. So, all I had to do was just answer the phone, and I was fine.
So I see on your social media a lot of red fishing and saltwater fishing. How do you make the transition from those ponds into Well, I guess you fished that when you were growing up, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I still like to. I still like to do freshwater. You know, I will catch. We call them specks down. That's another topic. What do you call a crappie?
Crappie,
Oh,
crappie,
okay.
crappie in
Crappie.
Tennessee. Now, crappie is a different region,
Yeah,
right? Like
okay.
they have different names all over the place,
Man,
and some people call them specks, like you. What are the other words
I've
for
heard
crappie,
because I did a
crappie?
video and people in Louisiana called it a sacale.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a
People in
French word.
Louisiana have different word for everything.
Yeah, it's a French word. I think it meant like milk because the crappie fillet is so white.
Uh huh.
And I think it has something to do with milk that I saw. So they
Well, I
call it
can
sake.
promise you this: that if you brought about 2 dozen of those to somebody in Louisiana, you'd have a great meal.
Oh man, I think for me that's my favorite fish to eat in freshwater.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
How do you like to cook it?
I fry it.
Fry it?
Oh
Everything
yeah,
fried.
yeah.
You can't miss with fried fish. It could be
No.
freshwater, saltwater, whatever kind of fried fish you're not going to miss. But man, I tell you what, I've had some amazing food in Louisiana, and
Hmm.
they know how to fish, and they know how to cook it. It's amazing. Not that Florida and other places don't, but
They just got their
Louisiana
own.
has a
Yeah, it's a
special
culture.
mix there. It is a culture. Have you
Yeah.
spent a lot of time there in Louisiana?
My first time going to Louisiana, I fished a tournament, the National Redfish Tour. That was my first
Mm-hmm.
time. I went to Delacroix,
Nice.
and I'm talking about, man, there was nothing over there. You had to drive to go get some food, but I loved it over there. I want to go back very very soon.
Now, was that a partner tournament that you fished
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
redfish tournaments? We did the redfish tournaments for a while and kind of got out of them. And I haven't followed them that much, but I'm assuming that it would have to still be a partner tournament because of the 2 fish limit. Who'd you fish that tournament with?
Tiger Hoffman.
All right.
Yeah.
And did you guys do well?
We did there in Louisiana. We didn't do too well because we found some fish in practice, and then it was a front came through, and the fish that were there in the areas that we fished gone.
Yeah.
And we tried some new areas, but we're like, well, that's the thing I love about tournament fishing. I'll explain that in a minute, but we didn't do as well as we liked. We brought in our limit, I believe, but in Louisiana, it's something like I've never seen. Like the slot fish over there, people are catching 9-10 pounders. I'm like,
Yes.
it's wild. It's
I
wild.
know. Those fish are on a different level. I mean,
Yeah.
you come in, I think you can catch some 11s, a slot 11 over
Yeah.
there. I've seen it happen. But those fish that's a different deal.
It's
That
unreal.
Mississippi River just pumps out those nutrients, I guess, and
Yeah.
it's a fish factory. But a 27-inch fish in Louisiana looks a lot different than a 27-inch fish in most areas of Florida.
Yeah.
And they're so much heavier. So what did you say you liked about tournament fishing?
It's just a game of adjustments, and that's why I wanted to do a tournament trail, and I was happy that Tiger invited me to fish it with him because I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you such a better fisherman on a day-to-day basis. Like we go out on your own, you have to make those adjustments like on a dime because you only have in a tournament. Of course, you only got limited time to do that.
Right.
And just going through that, it made me a better fisherman. And tournament, I recommend anyone that wants to fish tournaments to get that experience.
Man, I do too. Tournament and guiding. I mean, I think both of those things are what propels you to a whole different level because no longer in both of those things, no longer are you just fishing when the weather's good or when you want to fish or when you can get off work or when now it's like you're going tomorrow
Yeah.
no matter what, and you're expected to produce in both of those, in the guiding and the tournaments. But what's different, I think, in my experience between the guiding and the tournaments, is that on a guided trip, somebody says, "Hey, I'd really like to catch a tarpon or a permit or a bonefish or a redfish or snook or whatever, and that's what I'd really like to do." And you get out there and you can kind of go, "Man, we had a little window for the tide and now it's kind of over, but it's really good for like bonefish over here. We could go over here and do that." And you can make that person very, very happy to continue to do that. But a tournament thing is like you're after one fish, usually. Or in the Keys, we have these series of tournaments that have multiple fish, but those are the only ones. And you're after a certain size limit, or you're after, I don't know. But that's it. Like permit, tarpon, bonefish. So if you were like, man, there's 500 snook right here that we could catch. Doesn't matter. Nobody, you're not going to get any points for that. So you just have to pass them on by, and you have to go for what you want. Or if like it's a bonefish tournament, the tarpon are going berserko over here, of course, on the day that you have a bonefish tournament. You can't find a bonefish, but they're going crazy. It would be the best day of guiding ever, because you would just slide right over there and start catching those tarpon.
Right.
But not in a tournament. Like, you have to focus on that fish. And, if it gets cloudy, for example, that used to kill me, bone fishing or permit fishing, where I can't see them into the water anymore. But on a tournament day, you got to figure out how to fish them in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see them, well, nobody can see them. And if you catch one, you're probably going to win, or you might win, or you're going to do really well. But on a charter day, you're like, oh, well, we could go over here and catch, a whole bunch of mangrove snappers, and your people might be real happy. But that's what I liked about the tournaments, was the ability and the speed at which you learned, because you had to. You're forced to.
Yeah.
And man, when you're fishing in that, like in the tournaments that you're fishing in, man, those guys don't play. You're going to somebody else's backyard that knows it way better than you're ever going to.
Yeah.
And you're expected to compete with those guys. And sometimes, though, I'm sure you saw this plenty, either with your own success or others. It's the guy that comes in from out of town and does whatever he normally does in his backyard, and he does it over here, and nobody does that.
Right.
And they score. Like, that's what Andrew Bostic used to do. This guy, do you know who he is? Andrew Bostic?
I've heard of his name.
He's a fantastic fisherman down in the Naples area. He's really good.
So I can look him up.
Yeah, look him up. He's really, really good. But we would go to these redfish tournaments, and we would make these giant runs. Like, sometimes we would be like, up, I don't know, Fort Myers or something. It's like, well, how far is it to Flamingo? That's what we would think first. Like, how far is it to a place that we already know? Yeah. Could we get down there and fish for 2 hours or 1 hour in a place that we know, instead of trying to learn this new area?
Right.
And we're fishing in somebody else's backyard that they know every tree branch that goes in the water. So we would take these long runs. But then this guy, Andrew Bostic, he always did this. He would just stick right around the boat ramp. If he didn't know an area, he would just stay right there, and he would do what he does at home, and he would just blind cast these points and places where he knew fish were. And man, he always did great. He was really one of the most consistent people. Yeah, he's a Florida guy.
Okay.
But he was able to do well in a lot of those tournaments. He was on Team Maverick with us, and he's just a really good fisherman. But he's the one that I think of that, like, just right under their nose. Everybody leaves the boat ramp and runs for an hour.
Yep.
He stays right in there. A lot of times, not every time.
Like, I think Florida, when it comes to red fishing, when I notice in Louisiana, I mean, it takes skill to find the fish over there. But once you find them, you can get on them, and they're not as finicky as Florida redfish. You spook a redfish in Florida, I mean, you're pretty much done for. That fish is not gonna eat. And Louisiana, me and Tiger, it was in practice. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I've seen it on YouTube and stuff like that. We spooked a redfish, ran under the boat. You know how redfish go crazy when they're spooked. He threw at it, and I'm talking about it stopped on a dime and it turned into 8. Mm-hmm. And I was lost for words, because that'll never happen in Florida. You spook a redfish, it's done for. You blew it.
I know.
Yeah.
And they'll go back and tell all their friends, and they're gone too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But in Louisiana, I've seen that happen too. And I've also seen one, believe it or not, I promise you, I'm telling the truth. But you spook it right here, you throw at it, and maybe you throw behind it or something, and it comes by and takes a bite at the trolling motor as it's going away.
Wow.
Yes. Like a shark. Like,
yeah, that's my first thought was just like it was a shark.
Yeah. But I love that fishing in Louisiana. I got a good friend up there, Anthony Randazzo. Anybody that wants to go up there, he's got a good lodge, Paradise Plus. You ever been to that area in Venice? Did you go to Venice?
I want to go so bad.
I
had a couple of invites to come out there, and fish. I'm gonna take an offer up on that for sure.
So what about a destination? Do you have like a bucket list destination kind of list that you want to go to, or a species? What if you could just kind of wave a magic wand right now? Where would you go?
My first trip will probably be to the Amazon.
Amazon.
Man,
Right on.
I want to catch some. They got some fish in there that just ultimate predators. You know what I mean?
Which one do you like the most? Because I got a couple in mind right now that I would love to catch.
First, I want to catch about a 20-pound peacock. I want to catch a giant. I grew up in South Florida, so I've caught some peacock bass down there. But over there, it's a different strand over there. It's a different breed. I really want to catch a 20-pounder.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way they fish from those big poppers. They just, it's a workout.
I know it is.
Yeah,
It looks fun, though. The thing that scares me about that trip is that if you go in the rainy season, apparently, if the water is low, fish are concentrated, you can find them pretty easy. But if that gets up, they go everywhere. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I like the look of those Payara. And
the two, they got like two
big teeth.
Yeah.
Those things look amazing. I mean, I would love to catch those. There's another fish. I don't think it's in the Amazon necessarily. Have you ever heard of a wolffish?
Maybe is that one of those crazy looking?
It's kind of drab looking, actually. It's kind of brown. It doesn't have like lots of colors on it or anything like that. It doesn't have like an incredible bunch of teeth in its mouth. But man, this fish is supposed to be one of the toughest, meanest fish, and they're in rivers. And I think they're kind of Brazil, kind of that area. I get this email from this group, and I've had both of the guys on the podcast before. The Jungle Angler is one of the guys. You can follow him on Instagram, and he shows some of these things. But they have a couple of destinations where they catch these wolffish. And I haven't heard many people talk about the wolffish, and I haven't, it's not like a real popular species, but they say that thing is just.
Is that the fish? It doesn't have like a tail, like a red. It kind of.
Yeah.
Like I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, a little bit like that. A little bit. It kind of comes back like a triple tail almost, a little bit. And then I guess they're somewhere in the neighborhood of where they catch the Dorado. Okay. In the freshwater Dorado. Now that one also is something that I'd like to do. And I don't know, that's not really Amazon, I don't think. I don't know. I haven't been down there. So I just have a list of fish that I'd like to catch, and all of those are on it. The 20-pound peacock bass, that would be amazing. Man. That Payara, the Arapaima. Yeah. Those fish are.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but they also are they're like a 10-foot long snook. Or a tarpon too, and they got this. I mean, you've probably seen them on they have them in those jungle pet things on Instagram. I don't know what account it is that I follow, but he's got some big ones in a tank, and those things come up and they have a very violent inhale. Yep. When they can get a fish, but they catch them on fly, and it looks awesome. But the people that I know that have done that. They break fly lines all the time. That's the problem. It was for a while. They might have started making stronger fly lines.
I need to learn how to fly fish, man. I've been telling myself I want to learn. I'm a power fisherman, so I'm casting lures and casting big stuff, but I want to add that to my game because it looks very peaceful. It looks like a lot of fun to catch a big fish.
Well, it is fun to catch one, but be prepared for a lot of times of not catching anything. I mean, you think you don't catch anything when you're throwing lures some days, but I don't know. I mean, it's not necessarily that way because, if you're really into fly fishing, and there was a lot of periods of my fly fishing career where I felt like I could outfish people that were throwing lures, and then sometimes even outfish people that were throwing bait. And there is styles of fishing, like trout fishing in the Rocky Mountains and stuff, where fly fishing is absolutely 100% the most productive way because they're eating these little bugs, and that's all they're eating. And you can match it perfectly with a fly, and you can just cast and cast and cast, and you can quickly take it off and cast and catch another one where, I mean, I don't know. I don't know of any other way you're going to catch those particular fish. Now, you can throw lures, and you can catch them. They're eating something. They'll opportunistically eat that.
Yeah.
And you'll probably catch bigger ones like that. But I don't know. There's some styles of fishing where fly fishing is the most productive. And then there's other styles of fishing where it might just be the most fun, or it might be, or even the most difficult on purpose, like permit fishing. You're doing it with a fly because you know it's the most difficult way. And some people really dig it. Like, I don't know. I like catching a few fish.
If you're fly fishing for a permit, right? Because I've never caught a permit, and I know they have great eyesight. Is it more of like a, is it more like a finesse style? Do they see? Do they not really see it as much as they would see? Like, what's different about the fly for the permit?
Well, one of the things about the permit, I think that and believe me, I've thought about this. I've stayed up looking at the ceiling in my bed for millions of hours, just thinking about what is it about a permit that makes it hard to catch on fly, right? And I think if I were to just simplify it to my basic understanding of why they're hard to catch, is because they want something that's alive. So I also do a lot of bait fishing for permit where we use live blue crabs. And if you have a lot of shots and you throw 5 or 6, 10 times and you kill your blue crab and you don't notice that it's dead, and here comes a school of permit, and you pick it up and the thing's, you've done this lots of times with shrimp or whatever, and your shrimp's just dead as a doornail. Your crab can be dead, and you throw a perfect cast into this school of permit with a dead crab, and they act like it's a fly. They look at it and go, nah. I mean, it doesn't spook them, but they're just not that interested in it. Now, if you have another crab where the legs are kicking and it's clicking and popping, and you throw that in there, man, they pounce on that and they eat it so well and so fast and so aggressively in some cases that I think it's just that the flies that we use aren't very good. And I don't mean that as disrespect to the fly tires. We have some amazing fly tires that can tie a fly. Literally, if you had a crab and a fly sitting on a table, you would have a hard time telling the difference between them. But it's not about the way they look. It's about the way they act in the water. Like, you've probably seen tons of lures where you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that looks exactly like a fish. But you tie it onto your rod, you put it in there, and you're like, it doesn't swim like a fish. Like, it looks like a fish. It's perfect photorealistic, but it doesn't act like one. And then you have another lure that has basically no paint left on it, and the fish have chewed all the paint off, and it looks like nothing. And you throw it over there, and man, that's what they want, because somehow it's like eliciting a response of feeding, where this other thing is kind of like, nah, I don't want it. I mean, you can catch them on a dead crab occasionally. Like, if you twitch it a little bit and make it move, they'll eat it occasionally. They'll eat a fly occasionally. And I don't know. I think it's about, and then at that point it becomes about the sport of, can you trick them to eat this thing that they know isn't real? Yeah. And I think that, that's kind of where fly fishing for permit is, in my opinion today, and I'm sure that people have strong opinions the other way, that the flies have gotten better. They have gotten quite a bit better, and they're doing all kinds of different things with them, even on the surface and underneath, and different weights to where the crab floats on top of the grass and the weight's down like a Carolina rig. And all of those are great things, but you go out there and you fly fish for them, and you go out there and you throw live crabs for them, and it's a completely different experience. Yeah. I mean, on one day you can catch 5 on live crabs, and if you caught 5 on fly, that would be a pretty amazing day. It's not impossible. You could do it, and people have. And I don't know. I just
gotta have that patience.
I think it's like you're choosing to do something difficult for the sake of doing something difficult. You know that you could catch them, and a lot of people either have already caught a lot of permit on live crabs and they want to move over and try it in a more difficult way. But there's a whole group of anglers that have never thrown a crab to a permit, and they just enter the sport fly fishing for permit. I think that was me, right? I caught my first permit ever on fly, and I was 100% determined that that's the way I was going to do it. I was like insulted if someone said, well, you should catch one on a crab. No, man, I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. But looking back on it now, had I caught, 10 on crabs, I would have caught one on fly much faster. much faster. Because looking back on it, I didn't understand the fish. I didn't understand the way that the fish ate. I didn't understand what the fish wanted to see. I'm just throwing the fly as close as I can to them, right? And sooner or later, one's going to eat it. But I could have been successful on fly much faster had I been open-minded enough to try it on, spin, crabs, and catch a few. And then I wouldn't have been so nervous too, man. For the first few years, my knees are knocking, my heart rate's like 197. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That was kind of a mistake for me. But you should definitely learn how to fly fish. I think you would enjoy the red fishing on fly. There's several fish that are much more conducive to fly fishing than others, and redfish are one that it can be as productive as throwing lures for them in certain situations, like especially like around Flamingo or someplace where they're just tailing up and their head's buried in the grass. A lot of times you can get a fly to them, over and over and over again faster than you could. Like if you make a bad cast and it kind of comes across and they don't see it, you got to reel it all the way back in. With a fly, you just pick it up and put it right back down there again. And in some cases, you can catch more like that. But fly fishing I look at it, where I once looked at it as the only thing and the only way to do it. Now I look at it like a club in your golf bag, like a tool in your tool belt. Like it's same thing with conventional reels and spinning reels and longer rods and shorter rods and fly rods, and it's just all a tool. Like I want to try to be good at all of them. And but I think that when you learn about fly fishing and you learn about the flies and how to choose the flies and even how to tie the flies, I think that without even knowing it or realizing it, you'll see this, like you'll be doing something else and you're like, oh, that's like fly fishing, right? I learned this in fly fishing, so maybe I'm going to use a smaller lure because I see what they're eating and I don't know, matching the hatch, like what they call it. But I think that you can, I think that fly fishing can help you to be a better angler in other types of fishing that don't necessarily correlate, like in bass fishing for deep fish. And you're like, how is fly fishing going to help me with that? But it can, just like that, can help you with your fly fishing. Yeah. Like you can learn all these different things and all these different styles of fishing. And I think the best anglers take little bits of knowledge from all these different places and put it together in their own way that makes them kind of more successful. Like all those redfish tournaments you did, it's definitely going to help you to catch more largemouth bass or trout. Like it just will. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of like, going back to the question earlier, like that transition from freshwater to saltwater. And, I grew up with my granddad and we would throw grass shrimp. And, I started the old school way. Like we all going to the spot. We got these long cane poles hanging out the car. We go dip our net and catch our grass shrimp and little crawdad and stuff like that. And my dad was, he introduced me to artificial. And bass fishing, like, I still love the bass fish. I still love to do freshwater and saltwater. I just love to fish. Like, I'll go catch crappie, I'll go catch bluegills, I'll catch whatever that's biting. And I went fishing with my buddy Josh. When I was in Gainesville, we worked together. And he introduced me to the inshore game. Because my dad and I, we would go offshore, or we would go hit the bridges in Stewart, or something like that, or go to the Keys off of the trip boats. Mm-hmm. And so my buddy Josh Martin introduced me to inshore, and I picked it up pretty fast. If you can catch bass, you can catch redfish, snook. I mean, it's the same thing. They hang around the same structure. I mean, they eat some of they eat some of the same lures.
Yeah.
And that made that transition easy for me. And you're just catching bigger bass pretty much. I mean, it's the same. It's not too much different.
Yeah. That's cool. I think the same way. And I think that I enjoy fishing saltwater, freshwater, whatever, fly fishing, any of it. I just like to bend the rod. Right. I really do. So how old are you?
I'm 29.
29.
Yeah.
Right on. And so I made me wonder when you said that you were out on your bicycle and you had to answer the phone. I knew we had an age gap. I knew there was a little age gap there because I didn't have a phone when I was riding around on my bicycle, and my parents were wondering where we were. They would just say, "Be back by dark," and if you weren't, they might go looking for you. But I don't know.
I wish that was the case. I wish that was the case for me, man. Like, man, I tell you, if I didn't answer that phone, oh, it was trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would tell you, stay close enough to the house to where you can hear the dinner bell or where you can hear, my dad whistle.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
boy, if you missed that whistle, it was bad news. We had one place. I do remember my dad coming looking for us, and we had gone a little further than the whistle, further than you could hear the whistle. And we were just having a great time until he showed up, and it was not good,
How many
But
siblings do you have?
I have two older sisters, and then I have 3 children of my own. So I have 2 boys that are older and a girl. So 26, 24, and 20, almost 21
Okay.
for my kids now. So they're, it was a different world growing up. And then I think about like them having kids now, and even just starting right now, totally different world than even when they grew up. And even between the 3 of them, like on like my older one, he wanted a Facebook page, right? Like I remember him coming home and saying he wanted a Facebook page, and that he's the 26-year-old, right? Because that was it. Like MySpace was over, Facebook is the cool thing, and then I'm just like I don't know how I feel about that. And then my younger son, he had a whole different thing. That was like Instagram was around, like, and then my daughter, like it's like TikTok and I don't know, it's just different. And each one of those periods of time is like a different experience for the parents and the kids. Like, I don't know, what you used to do on Facebook when that was first getting started is so far different and so far removed from what kids do on TikTok today.
Yeah.
It's just amazingly different. Like, I don't know, you're posting like one picture on Facebook, and now you're doing whole movies and dance recitals and stuff.
These kids now, they'll post like 6-7 times a day on TikTok, like you said, as opposed to one picture. You know what I mean? I'm just happy I grew up in the era. Like I grew up. I love the era I grew up in because I grew up before the technology got really advanced. So I lived before, we had the old Nokia phones and the Snake game. I lived like before the technology got great, and then I saw the the transition. I'm just happy I was able to live in an era where I knew what it was not to have all these electronics. We were outside all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no video game. I mean, we were outside, and I just love that I grew up in that era to where I know.
So it's interesting with you at 29 and just you saying that right there. What do you see? Like, where are we going with this? Where is social media going? Whether you can talk about it with fishing or you can just talk about just kids and social media, you're going to have a different perspective on it than me. Where is this going? Where do you think it's going?
I don't think it's definitely not going away. It is going to keep evolving. And as far as you see it now, businesses are getting on the trend to where now social media is one of the best forms of marketing. I mean, you know what I mean? And a lot of businesses I feel like the businesses that don't pick up on that social media side of marketing are not going to get left behind per se, but they're going to be behind the curve a little bit. And I think with social media, it's a powerful tool, man. It is a powerful tool. I never thought I'd be talking to Tom Rowland on a podcast. You know what I mean? And that just through social media. Like it's a great tool for you to connect with people and to really show people see Instagram and say, oh, he's living a great life. People post the highlights of their lives. They're not posting they're not posting their downfalls on social media for the most part. And I just really feel like social media is just a place where it's going to constantly evolve. I just don't know how though, because it's like back in the day, you played the video games and, you're like, man, these graphics are great. Back playing, I remember playing like the old NBA game, like the old, 2003 NBA Live or something like that. And when it first came out, we're like, oh, these graphics are great. And now you look back on those graphics, the graphics you have now, you're like, I really thought these graphics were, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like you just never know. Like, it's just going to go to a place where it's hard to predict. Because we think
it is hard to predict.
Thing right now, we think, how is social media going to get better? Just like with a bunch of other things. And it's just it'll get better.
Sometimes, it's definitely going to get better. And the technology is going to definitely improve. And we're going to get closer and closer to wearing things, like wearing glasses or having some sort of implant or something, where social media is now, and it's not just social media, the internet, AI, it's all there with you at all times. I think we're getting closer and closer and closer to a wearable technology where that becomes like, I don't know, you have the opportunity to get that, like a lens put in your eye that stays there all the time.
Yeah.
It sounds, 10 years ago, that would have sounded like science fiction, but today you're like, they probably already have that. Like, there's probably somebody out there that has it. But I wonder sometimes about, and we talk about it a lot of times on the podcast, is like, how does it get worse? Like, there's a lot of things about social media that are great, and you can celebrate them, and you can communicate and connect with people that you never would have otherwise, and that's amazing. And you can learn things that you wouldn't have. Just like we were talking about tournaments, you can get on social media and you can learn things about fishing or about being a car mechanic or cooking or whatever. You can learn so much off of that. But then there's another side of it too that is like not a great side.
Yeah.
About social media, and especially for our purposes as it comes to fishing. Like, what are your thoughts on where we are, like, with social media and fishing, and what are the things that, like, young creators should watch out for?
I think a lot of people judge themselves off of what other people do on social media. And it can create like some secret jealousy or something like that like you're comparing yourself to someone you barely even know. And some people just don't have that mindset to they're doing great things, and you may be catching bigger fish than them. You may be catching, you know what I mean? Some people look at he has this many likes and I catch bigger fish than him or something. I think people just it's just, man, the comparison to other people that you barely even know just through social media. I just think the new generation just have to not compare yourself to people just because of what you see on social media. And I think that's the biggest thing. I hear it all the time because I have my little sister, my fiance's little sister. She lives with us, and these kids, they get so wrapped into social media and what they see and compare their lives to it. They grew up with the technology, like the younger, even younger kids for me now, like in their 20s. Like, I feel like I'm getting old calling, kids that are 20 years old, but a 9-year gap difference is a pretty big gap.
Well, it certainly is when we're talking about this. I mean, the difference between a 29-year-old and a 20-year-old is that the 20-year-old grew up with a smartphone.
Exactly.
And everyone they knew had one. At 29, you knew that this was, like, you can probably, do you remember when the Apple iPhone dropped? Like,
I do.
I remember it too. My friend wanted one, and then I got one, and the battery was so bad on the thing that I took it back, and I got my BlackBerry back, believe it or not. That makes me sound super old, but like, I couldn't go more than an hour without, this is a brand new phone, and I was like, I just can't do this. Yeah. And the email was not good, but anyway, I remember that. And like you will, but a 20-year-old does not remember that. A 20-year-old has had, there's never been a before the internet, or there's never been a before smartphones, or there's never been, I don't know, a before. Like, you have that, but you're one of the last ones to have that at your age, right? Maybe 26, like before smartphones. Like, maybe my son can remember, like, when we all had flip phones and stuff like that. But that's a major difference. So it's not the age group. It's this experience that's so different. right? Like
Yeah.
between you and a 20-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think like they just grew up with this technology, man, and I think they just don't know like reality. It's just all phone, and they compare themselves to. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing in fishing, man. It's just people comparing themselves, like comparing what they do to other people, and it's I don't know, I'm just not a fan of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think your social media, like when you think about, do you have a theme for what you're trying to do on social media, um, in your videos and your Instagram?
My theme is I just want to show fishing in a different light, and in a light to where fishing is enjoyable, fishing is fun, it's funny, it's a lot of funny moments in fishing, and things that people can relate to. And it was my outlet, and I just hope that it's an outlet for other people. And I try to not only post those kind of fishing, funny reels, but I try to post, much fishing content as I can. I try to do some educational things, because that's the great side about social media is, you can put out what you want your identity to be and what you want the world to see. And I just hope that when someone click on my page, they see, hey man, this guy loves to fish. He can fish, and I just want my content to be relatable and be an outlet for someone, hopefully, that, went through the things that I went through when I was, and not in a good space.
Yeah. Well, where do you see it in maybe 5 years? What do you want to do with this?
So 5 years, so this is my vision in my mind. I was planning a event here in Tallahassee where I want to get the kids involved, more involved in fishing than doing anything else. Like, because now, like we talked about, a lot of kids are on their phones now. A lot of kids are not outside. I want to get the kids involved in fishing early, and I had an event in my mind where I wanted to, have tackle giveaway, rods giveaway for the kids, and I wanted to bring the homeless, like the less fortunate. I want it to be like a big cookout and do things like that. But I'm still working on that side of it. But my ultimate goal, I want to go like on a tour, like go to different cities, and maybe have I think it'd be more of like a nonprofit where I'm going to different cities. We're talking to kids. I want to get the local game wardens involved. That's what I'm talking about FWC now, trying to get the local introduce the kids to the wildlife officers early, and show them like how great of a job they do, and all of the conservation that goes into fishing. Not just about fishing. There's the conservation involved. There's so much to learn, and I want to get that started with the kids early. That's one thing I want to do within the next year or two is, really put that together.
Nice. Well, when you get that put together, let me know how I can help. I like the message. I like the direction a lot, because I don't know. I think about it all the time. Like, how do you get kids off the phones and into the outdoors? It can be fishing, it could be hiking, it could be sailing, it could be whatever, man. But just back to where you're kind of connected to nature, and even just if it's temporary for 3 hours one day.
Yeah.
To be totally disconnected from their phones, from a screen, from anything. And it's funny to think of that, like, maybe how hard is it to get someone disconnected from a screen for 3 hours?
It's just sad. It's sad. Like I go outside, and you don't see many kids outside like playing basketball or riding bikes. Because that's how we knew when I grew up. You looking for your friends, you look for the bikes. You look for the bikes in the yard. That's where everybody at. And it's just not like that anymore. And I try to understand, because I try to understand it, but I just want to be a part of the solution of introducing kids to really just know how to have fun without a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much to do without. Because, for example, literally yesterday, I have a house full of kids right now for the summer. They came up, some family came up, so I got a house full of kids right now. And I told them to go outside. Y'all go outside and play, right? They come back in 30 minutes later. I'm like, what's going on? No, it ain't nothing to do. So last night we went to the front of the neighborhood, and I took a soccer ball down there. We just had, and it was, I'm talking about like, man, we was out there at like 11 at night, and the tropical storm's still coming in, so the wind's blowing all crazy, but it's not raining. It's just like that cool weather. That wind is blowing pretty hard, and we just had an old school kickball game, man. Like everybody for themselves. You kick the ball. You had to run around all 4 bases, to get back home without getting hit with the ball. And man, it was. And since they've been here, we've taken them to the trampoline parks. We've taken them to the beach. We've taken them to the springs. We've spent money taking them to, different things for them to have fun. And I think that's the most fun they've had since they've been here. And it was and it was free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. I mean, some kids these days don't even know that you can just invent a game. Like we used to do that all the time. We got a soccer ball and a baseball bat, and what else we got? We'll make that a base. Like we'll play baseball with a soccer ball, and we'll call it, soccer baseball.
Exactly.
And we'd do that for 4 hours, and then it would be some, oh, okay, well, we can also score a touchdown in this game. If you catch it, then you run it all the way back, and it's a touchdown. And these crazy rules, but it would be fun. And I don't know, even with my own kids, and as much encouragement as I gave them to go and just go out in the woods, man, and just invent a game.
Yep.
They didn't really do it, not like we did. But it's because there was an option, right? We didn't have an option. That was it.
Yep.
You can go out there. You're going to come back inside when there was nothing to do in here. There were 3 channels on TV and soap operas on all of them, right? It's like, I'd rather be outside.
and I don't know if you grew up like in this household, but there wasn't no running in and out the house. I mean, if you out, you out.
Yeah.
It wasn't no running in and out. No.
Uh-huh.
My mom
Just
didn't.
go.
My mom and grandma didn't play that. Like you ain't finna be running in and out of the house. If you're gonna be outside, you're gonna be outside.
It's a different day today. It's a different day. I like that conversation. One of the things that we do here in the last couple of times that I have done a podcast recently, I have gotten started with a pretty good conversation like we did here, and I have neglected to do our hot seat. So I have a series of questions that we do on the hot seat. They're kind of funny, but it's whoops. I'm not gonna. Well, okay, maybe I'll leave that in here because I had somebody else on there. A-Benz, you know who he is?
Oh,
okay,
man.
So he's like a jiu-jitsu guy. So I'm going to leave a couple of his questions in here because I actually didn't mean to. I wrote these out, but I didn't. I just left his in here. So let me just change this real quick.
Shout out to A-Benz, man. He has some great content.
He does. He catches some nice fish, man.
Oh,
the jacks and the snook
Yeah.
are awesome. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So in light of the conversation that we just had, what age would you think it was appropriate to give a kid a cell phone?
Ooh, in today's age?
Yeah. If you had a kid right now.
Shoot, what age is it? About 5th grade, 5th or 6th grade, and it's not going to be a smartphone. It's going to be a phone where you can just call and text. No smartphone.
Okay. 5th grader. Inshore or offshore?
Inshore.
Coffee or energy drink?
Neither.
Neither. What do you have? Nothing?
Just
water? Just you?
Yeah.
You just wake up? I woke up like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't drink coffee or energy drinks.
Cool. What do you drink? Do you drink alcohol?
Yeah, I drink.
Okay.
I drink alcohol. I drink water. I'll have a beverage every now and again.
Just no caffeine?
No caffeine.
Okay. Would you prefer a Chihuahua or a hairless cat?
God.
Neither.
Man, right? If I had to pick, I'd have to do a hairless cat.
Oh, wow.
Man,
Bold.
they just, man, yappy, man. I can't do that.
Okay. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Okay, me too. Desert or Arctic?
Desert.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Text or call?
Call.
This one comes from a question that I left in for A-Benz. Jiu-jitsu or fishing?
Fishing.
No jiu-jitsu.
Nah.
Would you rather be in a tournament or go out for a fun day?
Fun day.
1 million now or 10 million later?
10 million later.
Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics?
Summer.
Favorite Olympic sport?
USA basketball.
Least favorite Olympic sport?
I don't know if I have a least favorite.
How about a sport you didn't even know was an Olympic sport until this year?
I think I was surprised. I think last week I saw they had like rowing. I didn't know that was like an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
I saw one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I would say rowing surprised me. I knew that was an Olympic thing.
Least favorite fish to catch?
Catfish, saltwater, like a hardhead or hardhead catfish. My least favorite.
That's the number one answer. Yeah. Freshwater or saltwater?
Saltwater.
Spin or bait caster?
Bait caster.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Do you post and ghost or respond to every comment?
I try to respond to every comment.
All right. Okay, so that's the hot seat. What do you think of if I ask you what the worst advice you've ever been given? Does anything come to mind?
Honestly, I don't know.
Well, you've been around a lot of good people then.
I mean, I've been told that, as a kid, you do stupid stuff as a kid, but the advice, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing really comes to mind.
How about best advice? Has anybody ever given you any good advice that has served you well?
My granddad always told me, learn all you can and can all you learn. So what that means was you learn all you can and you can it. Like you keep it. You learn all you can and you can all you learn. That's what he always told me.
I like that. Is there a book that you've liked so much that you've given it as a gift?
No.
Okay.
I do, like, I'm not more of I do a lot of my stuff kind of like online. I don't have like the hardcover books. I kind of just, I do my research online pretty much.
Do you ever listen to books?
Yes. I listen to it's all revolved around like, outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like a novel reader or like a, storybook reader or something like that. It's more of like information about like the outdoors or something like that.
Yeah, gotcha. I gotcha. All right, well, we're closing in on it. I want to thank you for coming in and being on the show, man. I thought it was a great conversation. And if people wanted to follow you and see your videos and subscribe and support what you're doing, where would they go?
So I'm MajorGator95 on all platforms. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Major Thornton. But I'm MajorGator95 on all platforms itself.
MajorGator95, and that is because you are a Gator. You're a Florida Gator.
I'm a big Gator.
All right. What's the story behind your is that where you went to school?
So I had a couple of family members that played football there.
Nice.
I always hung around my big cousin, and he was a huge Gator fan. So it kind of just fell. It just fell on me.
I love it. Are they going to be good this year?
Better than last year, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to be like a powerhouse or anything. I'm hoping for if we can win 7 to 8 games with the schedule we have coming up, I'll be pretty happy.
Okay. Well, good luck to you, and good luck to everybody that's in the swamp. It's always an exciting game to watch, and I think you're due. It's been a little while, and you never know with the portal, man.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
You can turn a thing around in the portal.
I know. It's going to be an exciting year. I love to watch. I love to watch college football. It's probably my favorite.
Who's your team?
Well, okay, so I went to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do like Alabama, but my daughter goes to Auburn. Ooh. And so I'm going to offend a lot of people here. But if you had a daughter, you would understand that it's real easy to be for Auburn when your daughter goes to Auburn.
Yeah,
and we go to a number of Auburn games. And I will have to say, there's a different vibe. I was trying to explain it to somebody else. There's a different vibe between the Alabama Stadium and the Auburn Stadium. In Alabama Stadium, they're expecting to win, and they're expecting to be perfect.
For sure.
And so there's a lot of disappointment because nobody's going to be perfect. And sometimes you don't win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the Auburn Stadium, they're just very hopeful. Like, it's a great atmosphere because anything good that happens is celebrated like crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just a good atmosphere. I like the atmosphere, and I like Alabama too. I'm not an Alabama fan. I mean, I went there, and I'm going to ride that all the way to as many national championships as they get, right?
Yeah,
and who knows? They might get another one. I don't know. We'll see what this new coach does. But, I got to say, I'm not that big of a football fan, but I do enjoy going and seeing my daughter at college and going to the games. And so I like both. I like
Quick hot
both.
seat
I'd have to
question
say
for you
Alabama
before you go.
and Florida. What's that?
Quick hot seat question for you before you go.
Okay.
Alabama, Auburn plays. Who you pulling for?
Well, am I sitting with my daughter?
That answers it right there. That answers it.
I mean, and you always like the underdog story, right? So, like, if Auburn beats Alabama, I mean, even, I don't know. Listen, I'm just getting myself in hot water because the Alabama fans are not going to like me anymore, and the Auburn fans, they see that I'm wishy-washy, and now I'm neither, right? So I just made everybody mad. Made everybody mad. But I will say this: Alabama is one of the greatest states in the nation for football.
Oh yeah.
Can I just say that? That gets me out of trouble?
Yeah. I think
okay. That gets me out of trouble. I like both teams. But I like the different atmospheres. I like Nick Saban. I really did. I thought he was a class act, and I don't know what they're going to do now. But anyway, all right, well, good luck to you. Maybe Alabama or Auburn will play Florida this year. I don't know what the schedule looks like, but I'll send you a text when they do.
Okay, all right.
All right.
I appreciate
all right, Major, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on, and it was great to get to know you a little bit, and we'll do it again.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. All right, we'll see you.